The UK government is planning on sending asylum seekers who enter the country illegally to Rwanda.
We've got to stick to the plan so that we can finish the job.
But did you know that some other countries have been using similar schemes or are thinking of using them? Australia became one of the first countries to use offshore detention centres in 2001 as part of the so-called Pacific Solution to cut the number of people arriving in the country by small boat. Asylum seekers were taken to Papua New Guinea and the tiny island of Nauru and then resettled in a third country or sent home. Now, the Australian government maintained that refugees were treated humanely, but there was strong criticism around deaths linked to medical inattention, violence and suicide. And while boat arrivals did decrease, many put that down to other migration measures and not the resettlement policy. Now, the Papua New Guinea centres have already closed 5 years after a Supreme Court ruling against them in the country. The Nauru site remains open, but the last refugees were moved out of there last year. Israel introduced a voluntary resettlement policy in 2013. Asylum seekers were given the option to return home or be taken to a third country in Africa to claim asylum and given a cash payment, or they'd risk jail if they decided to stay in Israel. Now, the scheme was criticised for taking people to countries which weren't necessarily safe for them, and the UN says there's some evidence that many asylum seekers simply left Africa and went to Europe to try and claim asylum there. In 2018, with it dogged by legal complexities, the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu scrapped the programme. Other European countries have looked at offshoring schemes too. In 2021, Denmark passed a law which allowed people to be sent outside the EU while their claims were considered.
And we are also planning to send a clear message. If you are coming to Europe, stay clear of Denmark. We have a lot of integration issues in Denmark. We have a lot of problems, and we want to tighten the rules on your possibility to stay here permanently.
They did start talking to Rwanda, but those discussions have since been put on hold. Last year, the Italian Prime Minister, Giorgia Meloni, signed a deal with her Albanian counterpart that could see thousands of people housed in the country while their claims are looked at. Now, it would apply to people who were rescued at sea, but crucially, Italy would maintain responsibility for them after their claims have been looked at, so they could go back to Italy or be taken to a separate country. Rishi Sunak has also had talks with Meloni as the pair pledged to step up coordination to try and crack down on illegal migration.
Because if we don't fix this problem now, the boats will keep coming and more lives will be lost at sea.
Austria has also expressed interest in a Rwanda-style plan, with the former Home Secretary Suella Braverman visiting her counterpart there last year. This would be different from the UK scheme though, as people who had their asylum claims accepted would be able to come back to Austria. The German Chancellor Olaf Scholz has also said he will look at such a scheme, but cautioned that there was a lot of legal issues to get round. So lots of ideas, but limited successes as the UK government keeps working to try and get planes off to Rwanda.